I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day. Daydream, I dream of you amid the flowers.
Okay, welcome to the Frame of Flower podcast, episode number 33. This is a special edition. This is a high design documentary edition. I'm joined by the legends, the three owners of the Jungle Boys, Ivan, Pat, and Juice, or Roberto. Thank you guys for joining me, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so this is connected for anybody that's watching this. Highly recommend you guys go and watch the mini documentary that I did on the Jungle Boys. And so this is kind of just going over, kind of debriefing over some of the different things that we talk about in the documentary, as well as just some other questions as well. So first off, just, we list all the way through, we list some of the major kind of, obstacles that you guys had to overcome. But like we were just talking before this, Ivan, I guess what are the top three hardest moments for you guys as owners in terms of overcoming bullshit? I know that's kind of a tough question, but I'm curious.
I think one of the biggest ones has been obviously lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
That's been something that weighs on you heavily, and something that you lose sleep over, and something that, because you never know what the outcome of any of that stuff's going to be, right? Especially when there's a lawsuit that you could lose your business, lose your business, lose everything that you work for. So I think obviously lawsuits, I think trying to navigate through the medical market to the recreational market, trying to navigate our way through that. And there's no rule book for any of this stuff, so it's kind of like, figure it out along the way, and hopefully you get it right, hopefully you don't fuck up too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Which one would, like, so out of the different ones that we list in this documentary, I mean, you guys had what, 3 lawsuits at one time going? So the city of LA one was obviously the long one, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest one, because if the decision was made that we weren't compliant, we lose our license, we lose everything. So at that point, it's like you lose your location, you lose your grow, you lose your store, you lose everything. So everything is riding on that lawsuit. So that's probably been one of the biggest ones for us, for sure.
Yeah, and that billionaire one, that one kind of blew my mind. Were you guys all in the state? Were you guys in that same room when that billionaire, the associate of the billionaire, came in and was?
Oh yeah, the famous $5 million bet.
I know. So and I wish I could have spent more time on that, but and I wish I could have gotten those text messages of a screenshot of something being like, "Hey, bro, when I gotta get that 5 mil?" Like, oh my god, that must have been crazy. Yeah. So I guess so. All these different obstacles, right? Pretty crazy. There's a lot we can go into so many different things, but I think let's talk about like the vertical integration. Let's go to that. I have a whole different list that we can go through, and then we'll edit stuff and make it make sense. So do you guys ever plan on or are you always going to stay vertically integrated, always going to control the flower, the production, or in the future is there going to be potential licensing?
Yeah, I mean, if anything like that was to happen in the future, we would still have control over it. It would still be our growers, our SOPs, our mindset. It wouldn't be something where it's like, here's a package, throw some flour in it, put it on the shelf, whatever happens. I think we're not ready for that, because it's like our baby, and we care about it so much. So I think at the end of the day, we would have to have a lot of control over it for something like that to happen. I mean, I never say no to anything, right? Because there could be an opportunity of someone that's a really excellent grower and knows what they're doing and can follow what we do, and have the same mindset as us. So, it's definitely something we're interested in, but it's not something that we feel like we need to take the next step in this industry.
Yeah, at this current moment. You guys definitely have you were saying to me like a week ago, something we were talking. You have the SOPs though to do it, so you could technically train, certain growers that you trust with your SOPs and then have them.
For sure, yeah. I think we always had this vision like TLC would be the school, and all the growers would come here and learn, and they would learn from us. And then, from there, we would send them out to all of our other locations, and maybe you're good at cloning, maybe you're good at, taking care of moms, maybe you're an irrigation specialist, maybe you're a trimmer, So we would have this big training facility here, and you'd be taught by the Jungle Boys, and you'd almost get like a Jungle Boy certification, and you'd go out and, maybe your next job is Florida, Florida's opening up. So we have all these job openings in Florida. And I think that's something like we're striving for in the future to get to.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I think that would be amazing. And that would definitely be on brand for you guys. And I'm sure there's thousands of people that would love to come to your guys' school and learn from you guys. Yeah, that's super dope. Is that in the works at all in the future, or is it just kind of right now?
I mean, it's definitely been put down on pen and paper, and we've had some long talks about it. We were actually just talking about it with someone else. Fletch from Archive was down, and we are just kind of like talking about what the future looked like for all of us, And that was like one of the biggest things that we'd always circle back around was like take the guys that we respect along with ourselves and kind of, teach the up and comers, like how we do it, and then if you made it through, school or whatever we would call it, you would basically be Jungle Boy certified, and and you would be taught by us, and I think that would be really cool.
That'd be super badass, and I think that would definitely go along with you guys continually. I think you guys are. I talk about in the documentary how you guys expand. You guys are really smart because you guys expand heavily. You guys are expanding in the cultivation side, and you're not, over leveraging the brand with the consumer, which I think is really smart. Kind of goes back to the vertical integration stuff. Um, that would be that. Yeah, that would be super dope. Um, so Pat, I'm just curious, what kind of so like, you kind of do your behind the scenes financials. I'm just curious, like how would you describe, I guess, what you do? I'm just curious. It's
I do a little bit of everything,
yeah,
Been with them for a really long time. We've all been together, run it really family. We keep it like a family, and each one of us is really good at everything that we do. And each one of us has our skill sets on what we should be doing or how we should do it. We complement each other. We're able to move forward and focus, and each one of us play our role in what we do.
yeah,
Teamwork that makes the dream work.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um,
I think a lot of it is, we don't have, CEOs, CFOs. We don't have this big, huge department of people, So it's very personal. It's very like, hey, that might not actually be a good thing. You know what I mean? As we grow, But I think for us, it's how we've always ran the operation, And it's like someone has to be here every day holding everything together, Because when you have this many businesses and this many employees, and there's always something going on, Whether it's, an audit or, a fire inspection or, this employee just, something happened, they didn't show up to work today, or there's an issue in the grow, or we blew a power line. I mean, it's a million things, right? You got to have that guy that, is there all the time, that has your back. And I would say that he's definitely that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I one of the things that I just really, the more I researched you guys, I mean, I personally, I mean, I think maybe in the future, maybe that might become a problem, but I love the fact you guys are family orientated, you're not corporatized. I mean, it's getting very corporatized, this industry. Um, and I think it's pretty refreshing to see, you guys reaching such, heights of success and being able to, still keep that family, kind of family and friends kind of, infrastructure in the business. I think that's super dope. Um, in terms of, we talked a little bit about, Ivan, like the corporatization of the cannabis industry. How, like, I guess the more you guys expand and stuff, but in terms of like California, I'm curious, like how corporatized is it now compared to the beginning of, I mean, was medical ever that corporatized really? Probably not really at all, right?
No, you're taking a market that was unregulated, right? We basically, in LA, we had immunity from prosecution, right? It was never a license to cultivate. It was never a license to open up a store, right? It was literally immunity from prosecution.
Yeah.
That's what's so crazy about it when you think about it. It's like we would hold on to this BTRC. It was a business tax certificate that showed that we paid our taxes. So when the cops would show up and say, "Hey, you can't be here," it was literally like, "Oh, well, I have immunity from prosecution and I'm on the list." And most of the times the cop didn't even know what the fuck you were talking
Yeah.
about. He was, they were just like, "You guys grow fucking weed and you need to stop." So I think now it's like they know who's legal, you're registered, you pay all your taxes, we're full track and trace. So it's so much more corporate now, and it's for better or for worse, right? It's more structured, right? Testing is a lot better, obviously. Everything is tested, there's good things that came out of it, right? But there's also, over taxation and over regulation, and makes it very difficult to get a license. You want to go and build in the city of LA, it's a fucking nightmare. You want to create it, it takes years. Like we pay more taxes than anybody, right? Like no other businesses pay the taxes that cannabis businesses pay. When I say we, I mean cannabis, right?
Mm.
So like if you have this business that's paying millions and millions of dollars to a city that's bankrupt and doesn't have money, you think that the city would be opening their arms up like, what do you guys? Oh, you guys need power? Oh, let's get you that power, But it's the complete opposite. It's we've got buildings we've been sitting on for 3 years that still don't have power because the city can't sign off on it, and the Department of Water and Power doesn't give a fuck about it. And it should be the complete opposite, right? They should be they work for us, right? They're public officials, right? That work for us, right? They're public servants, right? So, but it's like the complete opposite. It's like we serve them and we work hard to pay all these taxes. And if we're like, hey, can we just open up our business? Can you just help us like get this power going? Because we're going to pay you millions of dollars in taxes, and it's just roadblock after roadblock and red tape after red tape, And then to get a license alone in the city of LA is a fucking nightmare. So what do you end up going and buying one and overpaying for it? You paid millions of dollars for it. And now you're in debt, millions of dollars. You got to get out of this debt that you're in. So it's still very difficult in some cities. Obviously, some cities have made it a little bit easier and they've opened it up and they appreciate the taxes and they want to work with the cultivators. But in the city of LA, there's just so many. It's so big, right? It's not a little town with a couple people in the city. I mean, there's thousands of people and millions of people that live here, thousands of city officials. So it's like to try to get anything done has been very, very difficult.
Yeah, I bet. And so I got so two questions off that. So the first one is like, what's your guys' opinion like the BCC, right? Is that what it's called or the
Yeah, BCC, Bureau of Cannabis Control.
yeah, what's your overall opinion on them?
Nothing but good encounters with them. As far as like coming in and doing their audits and checking everything. Obviously, when it first happens, you're like, "Whoa, this is scary," right?
Yeah.
In the back of your head, you're like, "Did I do everything right?" And and it's like once you realize that, hey, you do everything you're supposed to do, and you follow all the rules, you're okay. It's just, there's when the first time they come in, you're like, oh shit, like this is real, like this is everything has to be in order and you can't have anything messed up. And if somebody screwed up, it could be bad, But I think at the beginning when this all first started, I think they showed that they wanted to work with everyone. They understood that there was going to be mistakes, and if it was an honest mistake, they were okay with it. But if you're blatantly, not running a legal shop and you were still, dallywaying out of a jar, obviously there was going to be a problem.
Mhm.
But I think it's we haven't had any bad experience with them at all.
Yeah, and I've they've done a pretty good job. I've seen they've like protecting from like federal government and stuff. They've done a pretty decent job there, I guess, recently. Has it ever been like weaponized slash like I guess this is kind of a complicated question, but like I guess my main question is like how corrupt do you think? Because every cannabis market's pretty corrupt in certain ways. Like overall for like California. I know it's hard to really say, but is California cannabis is the market pretty corrupt? I mean, obviously, I mean, people are stacking licenses, right? And
Yeah, I mean, listen,
it's a yeah,
they make this to where you can vertically stack a bunch of licenses, and there's people with unlimited licenses and all this. Sure, right? But I think in any industry, people will find loopholes through it. Like there's a smart enough lawyer that can read all this stuff and say, hey, you can get around this by doing this. But that's more for like the guys that got like multiple licenses stacked on top of each other, doing, million square feet of outdoor cultivation, you know what I mean? But I feel like, hey, if you got the market and the taxes are there and someone can actually sell that through the system, let them do it.
I'm curious of like what do you think the importance of genetics will be in the future, right? Like, is it going to be important? Like in terms of genetics, like meaning like I know like there's been talks of like proprietary genetics or anything like do you think do you think genetics are going to be extremely important in the future or what do you think really um
Yeah, I think exactly. I think genetics have always been a really important part of this industry, right? From the guys that came into a town that was nothing but OGs, right? Everyone, like, Pat was the king of OGs, ran LA and had all, he was the guy that, and I think we kind of came in and kind of was like, let's change the mindset of people because there's so many different flavors out there. And, like, not that OGs won't always be king and OGs will always be our favorite, but there's also things that go really well with them. And I think that uh, people trying to say, oh, I originally owned this one genetic and, no, like in order to go back and trace it, it's like, pedigree with dogs or, if you want to use that for an example, like purebred and all that stuff, it's going to be very difficult to do, unless because where do you start from day one? Who originally, right?
mhm.
It's like with DNA sequencing and all this stuff and all the CRISPR stuff that everyone's talking about doing or doing now. I just heard the other day that a bunch of people are starting to do it now. Um, how do you go back and say I was the first guy that had this cut of OG Kush and nobody else ever had it? You know what I mean? It's very difficult to do. But I'm sure people with a lot of money, that think they're going to be able to do it are going to try. I think more than anything, it's like we're running out of names in the cannabis industry, right? There's only so many freaking names you can come up with. right? And now it's becoming like this number thing, right? Which it's kind of fucking out of control, you know? And we're the same way sometimes. Like, we'll be like, all right, we'll have a creative session where we come up with names, and I'm like, this is just getting so fucking ridiculous now, because there's no more names left. There's literally isn't. And it's like, where do you get to a point where it's like, okay, enough is enough already? Like, how many times can you use the same name, apple, orange, strawberry, over and over and over again? And it's not that the strain does have apples, oranges, and strawberries. It's not that. It's just, it comes down to there's only so many names you can use, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff's going to become an issue of, it's already become an issue, right? Like, there are certain strains out there where we've got from different companies cease and desist, like, hey, stop using this name because we have this band trademarked and the name is in it. You know what I mean? We're like, oh shit, we
Mm,
didn't realize that. And I think for a lot of people, it's like there's people that are just straight ripping off other brands. You know what I mean? When I say brands, I mean like major companies, cereal companies, or whatever, candy companies. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. Like, you can't take someone else's brand and someone else's name, and put a Z at the end of it and be like, oh, it's okay. Like, yeah, it might have been okay in the old days, like when
yeah.
people weren't making the kind of money they are now, and this shit wasn't legal. But when Nestle or Disney gets a hold that this cannabis company is now this multi-billion-dollar company, and they're making a bunch of money off, Walt Disney OG, like, that shit's not gonna fly, And some lawyer is gonna get a hold of that and be like, put a stop to this shit right now, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm curious, like, how unique is LA's cannabis market? Because like one thing that blows my mind, and either I don't, and I'm, you guys probably speak to this, but like maybe it's just the size of the market, which is, I think the LA cannabis market is probably one of the biggest, I mean, in the world, right? City wise, but the fact that there are I think this is dope, but like the fact that there are brands that can start in the illegal market and really get some clout, and like you can start a brand in the illegal market and then carry that over. I mean, LA is the only real place you can do that for the most part, right? To a certain degree. I mean, I guess
Probably,
what'd you say?
you're probably right.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess digressing back though, my point is like my question is like how unique is the LA cannabis market? I guess what are some things that like are
I mean,
unique to it?
I'm sure Pat can speak on this because he's been around a long time. I feel like cannabis has been legal in California for way longer than it's 20 plus years. Cannabis has been legal in California because anybody can get their medical card, right?
Hmm.
It's like you could, say I can't sleep at night. You get your medical card. Where other states you have to show proof and you had to go through all this stuff, right? So it's like for the last 20 years, consumers in California, as opposed to like Florida or like Texas, right? They've had the choice of some of the best weed in the world, right? So you could go get your medical card and go to all these different shops and get really good cannabis. So they're a lot more educated in California. You go to Florida and you go into a dispensary, you're like, holy shit, this weed is trash, but that company is doing 2, 3, 4, $500 million a year in sales, where that same company in California would never survive. No one would buy that flower.
I think to answer your question is California operated in the gray area first since 1996. And because it operated in the gray area, you got a lot of people that got really experienced of operating in that area. And that gave a lot of brands the ability to be created in that gray area and then transfer over to, okay, we want to do it the right way, because everybody always wanted to do it the right way. They just didn't have the avenue to take it there. They were stuck in this gray area because there was regulators scared to regulate it. I mean, the city of Los Angeles, for example, had a city moratorium stopping people from getting the license, and they were supposed to use that moratorium time in order to regulate the industry. And they didn't want to regulate the industry, or they weren't able to regulate the industry because there's there was the DEA coming around to city officials and saying, if you try to regulate this, okay, we are going to go after the city itself. There's a video online you can find somewhere that has Patrick Kelly, I believe, was the DEA agent on that, went to the city of Del Mar and literally threatened the city of Del Mar that if you attempt to regulate this, you know, the DEA will come after you. So because they had this gray area, this moratorium that stopped everybody and let everybody operate in this gray area for an extended period of time, longer than it was in any other area, Los Angeles built a community around that, this gray area community. And a lot of social media was started in that, a lot of marketing was started in that gray area. But all of them really did want the rules to come out so they could do it the right way. You know, they're the risk takers. They're the ones that did everything at the beginning, and they attempted to do it the right way. And that's why you see the transfer of these guys that were operating in the gray area transferring over to a licensed market. And a lot of other states didn't allow that gray area to exist or to operate for such of an extended period of time as Los Angeles and California did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. You said that video is by Patrick Kelly. Yeah, I'll check that out. Sweet. So what do you guys, in terms of like, what are you guys thoughts on celebrity cannabis brands and those rising? I'd love your guys' thoughts on this, as you guys are the OGs and
Listen, like the last thing we want to do is, start hating on someone because they're doing something right.
Yeah.
If someone's putting out an excellent product and they care about it and they're actually taking the quality control and they're in the grow and they see what they're cultivating, it's like we just met with one of the guys that are running one of the big funds for one of the biggest rappers in the world. You obviously know who he is, right? He's a billionaire, right? And he just came in the cannabis industry. They just did a big SPAC, right? And it was one of the guys who was flowering all of his, packaging all of his flowers, They say, what do you think? Like, what you're feeling? He's like, it's fucking trash. We're like, what do you mean it's trash? You're involved in this shit. He's like, they're running the brand in the ground. They're putting in, they're putting the worst product in it. The grower sucks. And I'm like, but you're part of this thing, And he's like, no, I mean, I'm part of it, but I have no control over that part of it. They selected a grower who was known for not putting out a good product. They knew this ahead of time.
This is in LA. This is in Cali.
This is in LA. Yeah. Yeah. Just like what was last week, right?
Last week.
Yeah.
They're talking about how the brands are being destroyed because the cultivator can't grow quality, but the brand gets it out there, but what's getting out there is a subpar product, and they're destroying the brands before they can really even get off the ground. The product itself should be enough to get it out there, and I think that's what Jungle Boys does. Is the product speaks for itself. The community that we're involved with it speaks for itself, and it speaks loud enough that we don't need an influencer to go out there and to influence our product. Because we built something that speaks for itself.
I mean, I think also, right, if you're a really good cultivator and you're good at what you do, right, your flower sells itself, right? Like there's never enough good flower. You're never going to hear anybody say the market is flooded with AAA flower, right? It's always the market flooded with shitty ass weed, or fucking where's the good weed at? So at the end of the day, I think, a lot of these growers that are signing these contracts obviously have big, giant production facilities and they can't get rid of their flower. So they go and do some marketing deal with some big celebrity, right? And now you end up with that same trash weed, right? Just marked up and fucking at $75 an eighth now in this pretty packaging that none of us would ever smoke,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like, is there anybody big enough, like an influencer or, somebody that came, that was a big cannabis smoker and that was a celebrity that you're going to stand in line because they dropped a new flower that they've never even seen grown before. They've never even grown cannabis in their life. They've never been through anything that we've been through in this industry. You know, they're going to call it, relaxing or, whatever silly name they came up with. It's like, you hate to hate on that shit and be like the guy that's like, oh, I'm a fucking hater, and but at the end of the day, it's like it is pretty fucking whack.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And I think really it's just really brand heavy, right? Like the whole kind of pitch is like, oh, the celebrity, it's just such, top heavy just with branding, marketing, nice packaging, but what's actually backing it up? And that's where you guys have, had such a strong infrastructure backing up the Jungle Boys brand just with, like I've known about you guys since I was in like, end of like 8th grade, like I said, literally. And I've known you guys are top quality. And you guys you're not too brand top heavy in a sense. And all of these and the ones you're talking about, that person that you're talking about who just did the SPAC, I'm sure most people listening probably know who we're talking about. I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I kind of catch myself when I'm talking about these brands that I'm like, catch myself kind of talking shit, but it's like, I don't really expect them to be putting out a good product, but you're branding it like this is supposed to be, super top quality. And, I think there's going to be a very small percentage of those celebrity brands that really will make it.
Yeah, I mean,
long term.
for cannabis, I'm not a rapper or an actor or an actress, or you know what I mean. I'm not trying to claim to be somebody I'm not. So I think when somebody comes in this industry, I think the people that have been around for a long time always look at it like, like where's the flower coming from? Who's actually cultivating it? Do they care about the product? And if you put out a good product, bring it on. I'll put it in my store. But if it's going to be some subpar product, just slap a celebrity name on it. It's like I'll pass.
Yeah. Have you guys ever thought about like, doing because I know like, for example, like Cookies, they'll do some like side like collaboration, with a rapper and like they'll help. You guys ever thought about doing something like that? I guess.
We've been hit up a bunch of times, even by people
Sure.
that are like close friends of ours. You know what I mean? That were just like, it's hard. We don't have enough of our own flower, right? So it's like hard to justify putting someone else's name on our flower. Like we'd want it to be like so real and like, something that we would do a real breeding project and they would be involved in it and involved selection and like just, like really real. And I just think we're not there yet, and it's easy to do a pen or, something random that you can just put someone's name on. But I think if we did something like that, we want it to be really unique and cool. And, it's not that the person that we would do it with isn't unique and cool and creative and an artist, it's just more of like, how do you make it real so people really respect it and buy it? And people aren't like, oh, it's Jungle Boys just putting someone's name on another product again. I think we'll kind of hold out for stuff like that. And if we ever did do it one day, it would be something that is truly unique in their own strain that they selected and, that was cultivated by us that we would put our stamp on. We just don't have enough product at this time.
Yeah, you guys are just and so it's just pretty. You guys have 9 facilities and 3 stores. I mean that you guys must be can't keep it on the shelf. That's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. So curious about Florida, right? So what time is it right now? I want to make sure we don't too much. 30 minutes in. Okay. So Florida you're gonna be allowed to do vertical integration there. Are there any things any like, obstacles you guys are running over there in terms of setting up? I mean, it's obviously a new place and getting used to the climate, or I don't know. I'm not I have no idea what the growing. I'm not a growing expert at all. So I'm curious, does that affect you guys', the climate? I guess it's California is pretty similar, but indoor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've been doing this long enough, and we've consulted and been involved in a lot of different big projects. That we've been on the back end of it, you know, all over, you know, from Vegas to Colorado to, you know, Florida through, you know, either Lux, Athena, or just our own consulting that we do on the back end, you know, helping people out that we know, that we've been through it all and we've seen it all, you know. And I think as far as like environment and temperature control and all that stuff, we have that down. That's what we're good at, you know. But like anything, I think Florida was one of those states where they had a limited amount of licenses, right? You could be fully vertically integrated. So meaning unlimited cultivation, unlimited storage, right? And truly it's like up to like 78 stores or something like that.
Yeah.
So which is impressive for, you know, to be first to market like they did and to open up that many stores and do $500 million in revenue, you know, like you got to give it to them, right? Like, and they didn't do it, you know, they don't claim that they're the best growers in the world, you know? So I think for us that the taxes and the fees and, you know, like not having to deal with all that in Florida, right? Because obviously it's medical only right now, right? So the only fee there is when the patient goes to get their initial license or your medical card. So when you go and buy an eighth of flower in Florida and you pay $46, it's $46 for the eighth. In California, when you buy an eighth, you know, there's taxes, there's all these compounding taxes that are in that, right? Well, there's none of that in Florida, right? So it's actually, you can sell a top tier product at a good price still there and actually still make a profit. You know, where it's like California, you know, you sell an eighth for $46, you're not making $46. You know, you're making very little bit of money, right? Because you have your overhead, you have your expenses, you have your employees, you have your licensing fee, your taxes, your testing, all that stuff. Where it's like Florida, it's like kind of like the old days again, right? You can actually sell an eighth and actually make some money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and in terms of Florida, like if you guys looked at the competition there for like your guys's, I guess, top tier quality, like I mean, you guys are gonna go over there and definitely like crush it and probably kick most of these people's asses. But you know, like isn't Cookies over there, right? Or
Not yet.
not yet.
They have a license, but they're not set up yet. They haven't opened up any stores.
Are there any other Cali brands over there, or any sort of?
Not any big Cali brands that I know of that have like popped up yet. You know, they could be building something or, you know, in the middle of doing a partnership or whatever. But a lot of it's all, I'd say 99% of it's all publicly owned companies, you know, that have a bunch of money and a bunch of funding. And, you know, you can see all the money they make because they're a publicly owned company. And obviously all those numbers in Florida, the state puts out, you know, every month of the numbers that people are doing and the sales and all that stuff. And the sales in Florida are incredible. I mean, you got to remember, you can only buy 2.5 ounces every 35 days. Right. So, right.
Yeah.
Every 35 days, you can only buy 2.5 ounces. Right. So LA, if you're a medical patient, you can buy 8 ounces every day.
Yeah.
You know? And there, it's very limited, and still with those numbers, you have companies like Truly doing $500 million a year in sales. You know, so what happens when this thing becomes recreational, right? And now you know, you can buy an ounce every day, or you could buy 5 ounces every day, whatever the number ends up being in the limit, right? And now you have the Jungle Boys there, right, that are growing real top shelf California indoor quality flower. You know what I mean? That's why we say it's like, people think we're crazy when we say, you know, you need 10,000 lights to operate in a state like that. 10,000 lights don't even put a dent in. You know, 10,000 is a little tiny share of the market.
Yeah.
You know, because these guys are growing huge outdoor, huge greenhouse, light depths. They're doing all that stuff right now. No one's doing big indoor stuff there, you know? So it's like, that's why the quality, you see it, there's mold and there's all these issues these cultivators are having. Like, you can't buy flowers off of another grower there. So it's completely vertically integrated. So if you're, you know, if you own a grow and you have a bad harvest, right? That's the only way you could buy flower off someone else that had a failed harvest, or they failed for whatever mold or something, right? You can't literally go to market and be like, we have no flower on our shelf. Can we buy 500 pounds off you? You have to grow everything yourself.
That's wild. I didn't no idea about that actually in Florida. That's wild. Okay, so you guys are you guys are about to go down there. And, yeah, y'all about to take over down there for sure. I did not know about that. I thought you could, every other market usually you can, buy from other, other companies and stuff and repackage
You have
it.
to fail, a batch, which fail basically testing. You fail, say you failed 100 pounds, then you can reach out to somebody and say, hey, do you have any extra flower to sell me because I failed, right? But there's not enough cultivators there, right? So there's literally people selling like floor trim, like stuff they swept off the floor for $3,000 a pound, because that's just what the market is, and obviously, there's guys paying cheaper prices than that, but at the end of the day, it's like the amount of patience and the amount of cultivation and the amount of grows in Florida, and this is with being limited to 2.5 ounces every 35 days. When this thing goes recreational, it's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's gonna be nuts. I mean, it's also gonna be nuts for medical. They have to pick 2.5 ounces. Who are they gonna pick? What kind of quality? Like, and if there's no like really limit on spending, but you only have the limit to the volume, probably gonna pick the higher quality. That is actually fascinating. I did not know about that. The vertical integration. I mean, you can't buy from other people there. So we'll go over like a couple more questions. We can wrap this up. So I'm curious, like we talked about it a little bit, but this is kind of related more to the documentary, is like, so with like Lux Lighting and Athena, what were some of those like innovative products, like one of those innovative aspects of the lighting and the nutrients?
Yeah, so our DE 1000 was obviously, it came out, that was like our flagship product, right? And it was obviously the brightest light on the market when we came out with it, and the most efficient light, right? So I think when we came out with something, we're like, listen, we're not going to just put another light out like everyone else put out, right? There's so many of the same lights, right? We literally sat here in this conference room, for days and drew it out, designed it, and worked with different reflectors, and we sent it back and forth a bunch of times on different ballasts, and we came up with this thing where we're like, all right, this is next level for a light, right? And then I think that having the ability to R&D all of this stuff inside of all of our facilities. Listen, you see all these other manufacturers, right? And they'll show a picture of, there's a grower using their product, right? But that grower doesn't have an incentive to R&D for these companies, right? They don't own, they're just trying to grow a product and do good at it, right? We have the ability to take full entire facilities now and do R&D and testing and, test different light spectrums and different patterns and different temperatures and different humidity conditions. Like no one else is doing that, right? So I feel like it gives us the upper hand on everything. It's like I hear people like, oh, I'm going to put Athena next to this nutrient line, right? I'm like, bro, I did that for the last 15 years. Like I ran every nutrient line there was out there, and we lost millions of dollars along the way doing it, but we needed to know for ourselves who made the best product, right? Why was it better than everybody else? And was all these snake oils that you're being sold by all these nutrient companies that say it makes your buds taste better and it tastes like bubble gum, is any of that shit true? And 99% of it was all bullshit. It was just like a marketing play on cannabis. And we just wanted to put out a product that was the best product there was at the best price, like we do everything, and then go and put it in all of our facilities and show everybody like, all right, here it is, crushing it every single day, right? With the best product, with the best yields. And, a bottle of liquid nutrients is $250. You know what I mean? Like take, for instance, like one of the bigger companies, I don't want to mention any names, but one of the bigger nutrient companies is, $1.75 a gallon to make nutrients, right? Or seven, so $1.75 a gallon for one of the bigger nutrient companies, worth 17 cents a gallon.
That's wild.
Wild. Yeah. And it just goes to show the margins that they've had over the years and the money that they've made off the cannabis industry, fooling people and selling them all these snake oils and 99% water. And a grower gets in their head that they had like this perfect run because when all along they were just giving their plant 99% water.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And
So I think
yeah, keep
that's
going.
why we did what we did, because we wanted to be like, we wanted to prove that you didn't need all that bullshit, and that we were going to come out with a product that was not only better, but at a way fraction of the price than you're paying for, whatever big nutrient company is out there.
Yeah, and I think the point you made too is like that this is like, advanced nutrients, they don't have their own grow, they don't have their own product that they're using it in. Um I think that's, yeah, I mean that's hard. It's hard to argue against that as well. I mean, this is like what works for you guys, and you guys are, world-class growers. Would you call it, okay, and this is something that I was like I'm would you guys consider, and I know it's kind of hard for you guys to say that about yourselves, but like I personally would kind of consider you guys the most famous like commercial growers in the world.
I mean, I don't think we ever think of, I don't think we
I
ever,
know it's hard, yeah, you don't want to toot your own horn, but like
yeah. I mean, I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
people are just so busy with like life and families and, running a business and, we don't ever really think of that kind of stuff. I mean, there's moments of things that have happened that have definitely been, somebody jumps out of the bush in the middle of nowhere and it's like, hey, bro, I've been waiting for you for a couple hours. Can I talk to you?
That story you told me fucking blew my mind.
Like that shit makes it feel like, all right, bro, this is pretty fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're so busy and you have so much shit going on in life. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, like we obviously appreciate it. You know what I mean? And like that's why we always get back to all these people and we want to share and want to teach them and want to help them. But sometimes things happen where you're like, dude, that was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak. I mean, like I said, I'm definitely no growing expert, but I have a very good knowledge of just different things throughout the cannabis industry. I would say you guys are the most famous like collective of growers in the world. Like there might be certain individuals, but like collective wise, and yeah, and then just in my opinion, um, that's yeah. Sorry, I know it's a weird question to ask you guys. I'm just, um, so last couple of questions. So with Burner and Exotics, I'm curious, is that, is that still that's on the back burner right now, obviously? Is there any sort of plans to bring that back or in the future, like to really talk about expanding that? Or and if there, and like let's just say theoretically, let's say you were to expand it, like or to really, you know, focus on it more, you and Burner, like what exactly, like what would that entail, if you had to guess?
It's hard, right? Because I think we're both running at 1,000 miles per hour right now.
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine what he has to deal with every single day with having, the amount of partners that he has and, like just dealing with all the music industry and the cannabis industry and you know what I mean? Like I, sometimes you don't even take a stop, yesterday I got home and like, damn, I didn't even eat all day long. You know what I mean? Like I'm so fucking busy. So I think for both of us, we both have our paths that we're going in. I mean, obviously, we're both creative people, you know what I mean? And we both come up with cool stuff, I mean, a lot of the stuff that Cookies is doing now is, like all stuff that, me and Bernard have talked about for a long time and had many late nights and, talked about cool creative designs and ideas and who you would collab with. And, you know what I mean? So I think, it's just, we're just in two different paths right now for our business, and we're just both moving so fast. I don't think any of us have time to like slow down and be like, all right, let's look at this right now. Cause like we both have enough on our plate right now.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Do you guys ever in the future, like, is just for the Jungle Boys, are there going to be like any sub brands potentially coming out in the future, or just other brands potentially? Or you just,
Yeah, for sure. So we're working on some stuff right now. Working with a couple other brands and looking at acquiring maybe a couple other brands and bringing them under our family of brands. Um, but something we're actually working on something that we're going to announce pretty soon on that stuff. But yeah, so we have some other stuff up our sleeves that we've been working on and. Same thing, be organic and cool and new and innovative and letting people that maybe didn't get a chance in this industry, but were really good at what they did, and maybe they just didn't have the funding, or they just kind of got to so many roadblocks that they kind of gave up. Well, we want to kind of maybe pick those guys up, and give them the opportunity to do and on a real platform, and give them a grow and let them do their thing. Like we're open to all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something you guys are. That's something I definitely highlight in the documentary. I mean, you guys, I think there's so many different other groups of people. I've seen it here in Washington State where I'm from, a lot of people that maybe weren't as on top of their shit or just didn't have the right opportunities to be able to move into the.
So I did all the talking and Juice didn't talk at all.
I want to.
That's usually the way it is.
That's how I am, bro. I should be the silent partner, bro.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, we gotta. We can do. I want to do this again though. If you guys are in the, I'd like to have like individually. If you guys ever want to come on my podcast, I would love to have you individually on, just talk and.
I think you should have them both on because they both have really cool stories.
Yeah, I feel like 100%. I definitely would love that. If you guys would be down, I would definitely like to talk more with y'all, and but all three of you guys are OGs. But yeah, I mean you guys, the three of you, and then all the other people on your guys' teams. I mean, it obviously you guys are definitely cohesive and just moving as a unit, and I think that's pretty it's pretty unique to have this family business, this guys been around forever, and you guys are continuously expanding, but not too quick, and yeah, it's I just gotta say, like, the more I study you guys, I told this to Ivan, but like you guys, in my opinion, are the top brand for me personally long term. Like I said in this documentary, if I had to bet all my money on one top tier cannabis brand, it would be you guys. So I gotta tip my hat off to you guys, and I really appreciate all your guys' time and all the stuff that you guys do. You guys definitely are OGs. People look up to you, and you guys are continuously innovating. So really appreciate y'all. Sweet. So yeah, I'm excited too. So this documentary is coming out tomorrow. And so yeah, this is kind of a little podcast. So this is episode number 33 of the Freedom Flower podcast. This is the High Design special. If you guys, anybody watching this, you haven't seen the documentary, go check it out. Definitely, and it's a fucking nuts. It's an insane story. It's just some of the stuff you guys went through. It blows my mind. Real quick question, like last question, I guess. Besides the one tunneling in, is there any other crazy attempted break-ins?
We've had so many crazy shit happen, bro. We had somebody in a Range Rover tie a chain around like one of our big overhead doors in our building and rip the whole door off of the building. And the fucked up part is like week 4 of flowers. They came and chopped down a bunch of plants that were like in week 4, which is nothing, it's just a bunch of leaves, But I mean, I know Pat's had issues. We've all been through. I mean, there was a time in our lives when Prop D medical, where like at 2:30 in the morning when your phone would ring, you just be like, fuck, man, this is gonna suck bad. We had a huge fire, where we lost everything right after we built the grow.
You guys had a fire? Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys it seems like you guys had everything potentially.
We've blown up so many fucking electrical lines and transformers, and remember they don't fix it when you don't blow up a transformer or electrical line in LA and they come run out and they fix it. They're like, oh, you're fucked, shut down the business, we're red tagging it, go home. So we've been through, I mean, like I said, bro, I mean, it's like what you put in that documentary is 5% of what's happening.
Yeah. That's definitely why I want to have you guys all individually on, because I want to tap you guys, just have tap you guys for some of those stories because you know I think you guys. I mean, you guys have been in this for years, you know, decades now. So I'm sure you guys have added up. Especially, you know, fact is you guys are in LA, which right, like a lot of shit can happen in LA. Well, sweet guys, really appreciate you guys. Seriously, thank you guys so much. You guys are the big homies, the OGs. And yeah, just can't say that enough.
I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day. Daydream, I dream of you amid the flowers.